How's it going, YouTube? This is FourthStarTCG and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over another Worlds deck. We are going to be going over the Senior Division Champion Yanmega Break Vespiquen deck. This is a really interesting deck, basically going off a completely new Pokemon from Steam Siege in Yanmega and Yanmega Break. And I think it's Jesper Eriksen. He was able to win world championships with this deck, so that's absolutely amazing. So we'll be going over this deck, why he chose what he chose, or why I believe what he chose. Excuse me. Why I believe he chose what he chose to put in this deck. Why it worked so well in the Worlds meta, and why. And yeah, basically just explain how the deck works, why it worked at Worlds, and what I think the implications of this deck are for the next format. So first, let's get into the Pokemon here. The main attackers are Combee and Combee's not an attacker, but Vespiquen and Yanmega and Yanmega Break. So we have a 4-4 line of Combee and Vespiquen. Vespiquen, really the only thing you're going to care about, has the attacks Intelligence Gathering, does 10 damage for 1 colorless energy, and you can draw cards until you have 6 in your hand. And Be Revenge for a double colorless. I think it's 20 plus 10 more damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile. So that's basically the same attack as the Vengeance Flare. I think it's Vengeance Flareon from Plasma Storm, I believe. That did very well. It does very well in Expanded. We got a 1-1 line of Spinarak and Ariados in a grass deck. Really no need not to include these. They're very good. Ariados with the ability Poisonous Nest. Once during your turn you can use this ability. Both active Pokemon except for grass Pokemon are now poisoned. So since you play only grass Pokemon, you play Shamans, but only grass Pokemon, you can basically just poison your opponent. It's really good for adding that extra little bit of damage that Yanmega sometimes struggles to hit. Vespiquen can hit a pretty high number, but we're really not playing a ton of Pokemon in this deck. Only 24, which is not a lot for a Vespiquen deck. So we got that. We also have our 4-4-3 Yanmega Break line. Jesper did play the Yanma from Phantom Forces, which I think is interesting. It's got the same HP and the same retreat as the Yanma from Steam Siege, but its attack Air Slash for a double colorless does 30 damage, and you discard an energy attached to Yanma. Basically, I think the reason you chose this was because if you were just setting up, you could knock out a Joltik or something like that in the active. I really could only knock out a Joltik. You could knock out a Joltik with Air Slash with a double colorless. I think that's really the only reason why he included this Yanma, not the Yanma from Steam Siege. Then got 4 copies of Yanmega with the ability Sonic Vision. If you have 4 cards in your hand, ignore all energy in the attack cost of this Pokemon, which is an amazing ability. Assault Boom does 50 damage plus 70 more if the opponent has a Pokemon Tool card attached. Very good, you can hit 120 if the opponent has a Tool card attached, and then if you evolve into Yanmega Break, you can hit 100. Barrier Break does 100, not affected by weakness, resistance, any other effects on the defending Pokemon. So that's a just great 100 damage attack. Those are 3 colorless energy. You're really going to want to not ever attach to Yanmega. You can if you have to, but since he only plays double colorless in this deck, you're gonna have to commit 2 double colorless to a Yanmega Break, and it's really not what you want to do. If you're going to be attaching and attacking, you're going to want to be doing it with Vespiquen. So these Pokemon, they work really well together. It's been difficult to find something to pair up with Yanmega because you can't run a straight Yanmega Break deck. I mean, it sounds amazing. Attack for free. You don't have to put any energy in your deck. You can use that space for trainers, all sorts of other stuff. But the problem with that is you lose to stuff like Garbodor, you lose to stuff like Hex Maniac, people chaining Hex Maniac against you. So it's really not a winning deck strategy on its own. I mean, if a Garbodor gets in play and you don't play any energy in your deck, you lose. So you really have to play something. You can't play an energy-less deck. You have to play something alongside Yanmega. I did a Yanmega Primal Groudon. I sort of adapted that idea from Yellow Swellow. So we did something like that. A lot of people are talking about pairing Yanmega up with Raichu, but Jesper here paired Yanmega up with Vespiquen, and that works really well. The main reason being is that Vespiquen is you got two different types of attackers here. You've got Yanmega, which you can sort of get that out really quickly. You can hit high damage numbers with Vespiquen. You can chip away low damage numbers with Yanmega. One of the best ways that people would stop Vespiquen is they'd use stuff like Jirachi, discard those special energies. Usually Vespiquen decks would play only special energy. There was a lot of Metal Toolbox running around at Worlds with Aegislash, and you can get rid of that with Yanmega because Yanmega doesn't take any energy. So they counter each other. They sort of go with each other very well. You're not committing a lot of resources to run the Vespiquen. Your 4/4 line, that's important for any Vespiquen, but you're really only committing 4 double colorless energy. You don't need to commit any more energy than that. Yeah, so this deck just works really well together. 3 Shaymin EX to round it out for consistency. You want to play 3 in this deck because it's just you need the consistency. You need to be able to draw as many cards as you can to figure out your winning strategy, get Pokemon into the discard pile. You only play, now onto the trainers, I guess. We only play 2 copies of Battle Compressor, which I thought was interesting. But because this is a sort of hybrid Vespiquen deck, there's really no need for any more than 2 copies of Battle Compressor. Yeah, because you're either going to be attacking, you're probably going to be attacking with a mix of Yanmega and Vespiquen. By the time you get up to attacking with Vespiquen, you're probably going to have a lot of Pokemon in your discard pile to begin with. Yeah. 2 copies of Level Ball. This searches out your Spinarak, your Ariados, your Combi, your Vespiquen, and your Yanma. Searches out so many Pokemon. 2 copies of Level Ball, just a great thing in this deck. You don't want to play more copies of Level Ball because we want to play copies of Ultra Ball instead to discard those Pokemon. Battle Compressor, Ultra Ball are going to be a really good way to discard these Pokemon, get them into the discard pile, power up that Bee Revenge attack. 1 copy of Revitalizer, really good trainer card. Put 2 grass Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. That's just great. If you got a Forest to Giant Plants in play, you can immediately evolve those. It's just fantastic. 1 copy of Special Charge, new from Steam Siege. Special Charge, shuffle 2 special energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. Just a fantastic card. Very good. It allows you to recycle those DCEs, makes you even less vulnerable to stuff like Enhanced Hammer and Jirachi. Even if Water Toolbox is running Enhanced Hammer, even if they're running around with Jirachi, stuff like that, it's really perfect for this. You're never going to run out of double colorless energy in this deck, which was a big worry. Not so much anymore with that 1 copy of Special Charge. 4 copies of Ultra Ball. This is going to help you very much get those Pokemon into the discard pile, find those Pokemon you need. Yeah, everything's just going to Ultra Ball. 4 copies, great for consistency. 4 copies of VS Seeker. There's a fairly sort of a normal lineup of supporters, but you're going to want to be getting them back. There are a couple 1-ofs, 2-ofs in this deck list. So that's not going to be the easiest to draw into if you're really going for an AZ, you're really going for a Lysander. Those VS Seekers are going to be great to find them. So 4 VS Seekers, just get your supporter cards back. 1 copy of AZ, wonderful. Pick up a Pokemon. You can pick up a damaged Yanmega, pick up a damaged Vespiquen, pick up a Shaymin, reuse it again. Yeah, this AZ is just great. To get damage off the board, especially if you're only playing stuff like Yanmega, which just AZ that up. If you got Forest to Giant Plants in play, you can evolve it right back again. get rid of anything that's on it, any special conditions, any damage. Just a wonderful card in AZ. 2 copies of Judge, basically to get your hand down to 4 cards for Sonic Vision. I don't think Judge is as good in Yanmega decks as people think it is. The only reason being, you don't want to be forced to Judge just so you can attack. Usually you're going to want to be able to, you're going to want to Sycamore or N and then use cards to get yourself down to that 4 card hand. Because if you Judge, then that's it. You can't play any more cards. Even if you have like a Trainer's Mail or something in there, you're not going to be able to use that to find cards. Because what if you fail it? If you fail it, then you've got a 3 card hand and you can't attack. So Judge, I understand playing 2 copies. I think a lot of people probably play like 3 copies of Judge in a Yanmega deck, but I'd go for a lower count of Judge and a higher count of stuff like Professor Sycamore in this deck. I might even consider running Professor Birch's Observations, because it's really a it's not like N where if you're down to 3 prize cards, then you can't end because you won't be able to get yourself up to 4. With Professor Birch, I think, yeah, like Yanmega is probably the only deck that Professor Birch is good in, because if you flip heads, you get 7 cards. Hopefully you can use those, use that hand down to 4 cards. If you flip tails, you get 4 cards and you can attack. There's really no downside to that, especially when you're down in the game. So building a Yanmega deck for next format, might consider running at least 1 copy of Professor Birch's Observations. That's just an interesting thought. The card does not see much play now, and if you play it, I would highly suggest you look at the Fates Collide set list and see N there, which is better in almost every way. So 2 copies of Judge, 1 copy of Lysander, just to bring things up from the bench. Very good. Almost all decks run at least 1 copy of Lysander. 2 copies of N. Very simple. Both players shuffle their hand into their deck and draw cards equal to the number of prize cards that they have. Fantastic. Wonderful in the starting game. Gives you a 6 card hand. Great in the end game. If your opponent is beating you, you can end them down to a 2 card hand, a 1 card hand. And N can change games. N can change games. I've been on the receiving end of multiple Ns that have lost me the game. I've ended people and won the game because of that. It's just a fantastic supporter card. We play 2 copies in this deck. 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. Just standard draw supporter here. Very, very good. Just sort of the standard draw supporter. 4 copies of Forest to Giant Plants. We have 3 evolution chains. We want to get those down as quickly as possible with Forest to Giant Plants. 4 copies of Bursting Balloon in this deck. Bursting Balloon was really seen in a lot of, I think this is really interesting, a lot of Worlds decks played a lot of Bursting Balloon and not a lot of Trainer's Mail. Both the decks that I'm going over did not run any copies of Trainer's Mail. Opting to go for sort of adding more trainers than going for the Trainer's Mail. In this deck list, you really don't have space because of all the Pokemon, so that was something that had to go. But Greninja Break didn't run any Trainer's Mail. I think if you've got a tight deck list, Trainer's Mail is one of the first things that you're going to have to cut. It's a great card, but it doesn't do much for your deck other than make it a little bit more consistent. And if you can draw cards consistently, then there's really no need for it. 4 copies of Bursting Balloon. This really helps to add damage onto the board. If people are going to be hitting into your Yanmegas and your Vespiquens, you're going to be wanting to add that extra 60 damage. It's really a win-win either way, because if they don't attack you, then you get an extra turn, and if they do attack you, they take 60 damage. So it's, as long as you can get those Bursting Balloons down, it's very good. I think Bursting Balloon is going to be very big in any deck in the next format, because we're getting EX heavy format. Any deck that deals low amounts of damage, and this deck really does deal low amounts of damage. Our ceiling is 120 with Yanmega. Be Revenge can do a lot of damage, but you have to get a lot of Pokemon in your discard pile for Be Revenge to do a lot of damage. Normally you're not going to be hitting those 170, 180 to knock out big Pokemon EX. You can, but it's not going to happen a lot of the time. So you're going to be needing to add that extra damage with Bursting Balloon. I think Bursting Balloon was a great tech. You just throw 4 copies of Bursting Balloon into your deck, and it's really difficult for Night March to beat you, because they'll knock you out, but then they knock themselves out. So you're sort of staying even in the prize trade, especially if you're playing a 1 prize attacker deck here, like Vespiquen Yanmega. Very, very easy. You don't have to discard a lot of Pokemon. You can Assault Boom, will knock out pretty much any Night Marcher, save Pumpkaboo, but if they have a tool attached, then you're doing 120. That's knocking them out even with a Fighting Fury Belt attached. Yeah, so this deck has a great Night March matchup, especially. The only difficult thing is consistently getting out your Yanmega breaks and your Vespiquens, but if you're able to go turn 1, yeah, this deck just had a lot of really good matchups. I mean, we'll finish off the deck profile real quick. 4 copies of Double Colorless Energy. Now I'll talk about the good matchups it has. A really good matchup versus Night March, because of all those Bursting Balloons, you're going to find it really easy to draw into them. The Night Marchers are going to either have to find Startling Megaphone to get those away. Normally you only play 1 copy of Startling Megaphone, and you're really never going to want to drop more than 1 Bursting Balloon in 1 turn, unless you're afraid of a Lysander or something like that. But they're really going to be only removing 1 Bursting Balloon at a time with Startling Megaphone. That's difficult to get back. They may play Puzzle of Time, but forcing them to Puzzle of Time for a Startling Megaphone is going to be a very good play on your part, because then they're not getting back their DCEs or their supporters or anything that they really need. So, great matchup versus Night March, fantastic matchup versus Water Box. We saw that in the finals. I think it was Connor. I don't know who the other guy on the end who was playing Water Box. He put up a really good fight. He played fantastically, but the weakness matchup is just too much. It's too much. But it's got a really great matchup versus Water Box, which is probably going to be played a lot given the prevalence of Night March. And this is just a very solid deck. There's really not a lot that it loses to. You've got different weaknesses here. You've got Vespiquen, which is weak to fire, but it's really not going to be surviving many hits as it's only a 90 HP Pokemon. Yanmega is weak to electric. Joltik's a problem, but I mean, to be honest, it's got a great matchup versus Night March anyway. Forest of Giant Plants, you can stream those evolutions really quickly. Especially when you play 4, you're denying them of their Dimension Valley most of the time. So a great matchup versus a lot of the meta decks. We really didn't see a lot of meta decks come through and win in the finals. They had a big showing in the top 8, I'd say, but the finals were really these. I don't think anybody would have said Mega Audino wins Masters, Vespiquen Yanmega wins Seniors. I don't know what the Juniors champion was. Oh man, what was the Juniors champion? Yeah, I'm not sure. But man, yeah. So this is a very good deck list, perfect for the meta, and really interesting. And for next format, there's really not a lot that's rotating out. Battle Compressor's huge. I think you're probably going to have to remove the... So I take that back. There is a lot that's rotating out. You're probably going to have to remove the Vespiquen line because Battle Compressor is rotating out. But Yanmega probably going to stick around. And I'm not going to get any matches with this deck. I'm just doing the deck profile today. And the reason is because the rotation's coming in like a week. I don't know if it's less than a week now. The rotation's coming in a week. I don't want to show you guys matches with a deck that's going to be obsolete in a week. So I'll probably revisit all of these decks once the rotation happens. We'll cut that Battle Compressor line. We'll cut that AZ. I think that's all that's rotating out. Yep, just the Battle Compressor and AZ. But just because Battle Compressor is rotating out, we're probably going to have to cut the Vespiquen line. I might try to stay in the spirit of this deck and find another grass attacker. But you're really probably going to have to find another partner for Yanmega. Raichu, very good. We'll see how that works. Yeah. So rotation, this deck probably will not survive the rotation, even though only 3 cards are rotating out. They are very important cards. The loss of Battle Compressor will absolutely destroy decks like Night March, will absolutely destroy decks like Vespiquen. You can go into Expanded and play this deck list. It's probably going to be alright there. I honestly, with Night March and Expanded, I mean, it's got a good matchup versus Night March, but Night March has, with access to about 2 generations of cards, Night March is going to be pretty good. So yeah, this is a very good deck. It won't survive the rotation, unfortunately. But yeah, it's very good. Yanmega proved that it can be a top tier deck. I think we're going to see a lot more Yanmega at tournaments once people decide what's the best partner for it. Might be Raichu, might be Primal Groudon, we'll see. I love Primal Groudon with Yanmega, but that might not be that might not be tournament realistic. So that's it for this video. Not sure if I'll be going over. I probably will be doing the World Champions Mega Audino deck at some point. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Feel free to like and subscribe, and stick around for more videos.